let's talk about and rate the MW3 campaign without any spoilers. So if you haven't played or you haven't finished it yet, you can still watch this video. I'm not going to spoil anything in the actual campaign itself. But starting it off, the number one gripe everybody seems to have with this campaign, it's just too short, man. I mean, it took me 3 hours just about to complete this campaign, and that was with, you know, 5, 6, 7 times that I probably died throughout the campaign. So would have been even shorter if you know, don't die at all. I was playing on regular difficulty, so I'm sure if you played on like hardened mode or veteran mode, it would take you a little bit longer. But for me personally, 3 hours is just not long enough. In terms, and not going to spoil the story. Let me reiterate that again. But in terms of the story, the end of the story really felt like it was more the middle of the story for me personally and the campaign. When I got to the end, I felt like there was probably still 3 or 4 missions I had to do to actually, you know, complete the story. And then all of a sudden it just ended and the credits started rolling. And I was literally like taken aback. Like I could not believe that the credits were rolling on my screen because I didn't actually expect the story to end. Not necessarily even the way it did, but when it did in terms of the overall plot. The actual story itself, of course, is super, super good. Call of Duty always does a great job, especially Modern Warfare, always does a great job of, you know, running their campaign stories, building up a great plot. The heroes and the villains are always acted out very well. So from that aspect of things, it was great. Of course, the cinematics and the cutscenes were really, really good. This is something I've said in the past. If Call of Duty made a movie where they had these actors act out, you know, like Captain Price and all those guys, and there was an actual movie about the Modern Warfare universe, things like that, I would totally watch it. I think it would be super entertaining, and I think they do that aspect of the story really, really well. So of course, I mean, it's like, you know, 10 out of 10 rating for the cutscenes and that sort of thing. The world building that they can do is always super, super good and something that I enjoy. You find yourself really becoming a part of it, developing, you know, connections with different characters, and that part of it I did really like. But for me, it was just the plot itself didn't thicken out enough. Like I said, this partly goes in with it being too short. You only do so much in like 3 hours, maybe 4 hours of gameplay, depending on the person playing. So for me, I kind of was thinking this was going to be more like a 5-6 hour type of story. Especially if you're, you know, a person who plays specifically campaign and you're not a multiplayer or a zombies player. You're not going to want to spend $70 on this game, if I'm keeping it real. You're better off watching a YouTube playthrough and just sort of experiencing the story and the campaign that way than spending $70 of your own hard-earned money to buy this game, if you're specifically buying it for campaign. In terms of the missions, and more specifically the new open combat or open world missions, where you're not exactly directed to a straightforward objective. There's kind of a couple things you can do. You can explore the little area of the map that you're on. It's kind of like, you know, maybe not a ground war sized map, but a little bit smaller than that. So you have some exploration. You can kind of go stealthily. You can go guns blazing. It's up to you. That aspect of it, especially like the open combat mission aspect of it, really disappointing in my opinion. I'm not a big campaign guy in the first place. I'm really not even a big single player, like, game type of guy. So maybe it's just me personally, but I would rather the campaign missions just be straightforward and be something where I have a very specific objective. I follow through a very specific path. Maybe there's some options for me to go stealthy, like I could sneak around in bushes or sneak around through doorways, stuff like that. For the most part, the open combat missions really just felt like they were just there to make some missions take a little longer than they needed to. At least that's how it played out for me for the most part. If you wanted to, and sometimes what I was doing was you can kind of just sprint to the next part of the open combat mission or the next like area you needed to get to. You might have to kill some enemies along the way. You might get shot at a couple times. I think I died once or twice in all the open combat missions combined. It definitely just felt like it took a mission that maybe should have taken 10 minutes and made it take 15 or 18 minutes instead of the 10 minutes it should have. So I think that was really a letdown. I didn't have many expectations for open combat missions. Like I said, I don't really play single player games, things like that. So I didn't have high expectations for it. But personally for me, it just didn't feel necessary in the game. But the missions themselves overall as a whole kind of just felt like filler content. A lot of the time I felt like I wasn't really doing anything super important. With each mission, the cutscenes were great at leading up to the story, but the actual mission itself didn't feel nearly as important or impactful on the overall plot of the game. I felt like in Modern Warfare 2 last year, even Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, every mission you did really built up a character or built up some sort of experience to the story that was being told. But in Modern Warfare 3, I just felt like you were kind of, you were just sort of like doing a Spec Ops mission to an extent where you sort of just were shooting enemy AI, like kind of pushing through the map to whatever the main objective was, and then watching a cutscene. Then you go to the next mission, you'd shoot some AI, or maybe this time you'd sneak around the AI, you'd get to the next objective, you'd watch a cutscene. Like, it just felt very monotonous, and kind of like the actual playing of the game was sort of meh. And then the cutscenes are sort of what made it more worth it. For me, I definitely do not regret playing this campaign by any means. Obviously, it only took 3 hours, so like 3 hours is a lot of time, I guess, but it's like at the end of the day, 3 hours also isn't that much time in the grand scheme of things. So I don't regret it. I did have a overall fun time. Like, I wasn't like completely bored out of my mind. But for me, this is more like a 3 or 4 out of 10 type of campaign. I think the biggest issue is just the fact of how short it was. Even if this campaign, the missions, the story, everything was 10 out of 10, I still feel like this campaign would just be too short. Like, even a 3-hour campaign, no matter how good it is just not worth your money. And I know this game was sort of supposed to be a DLC. It sort of is a DLC for Modern Warfare 2. The campaign was supposed to just be a little extension onto the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, and I would say it is exactly that. It is definitely just a little bit of an extension from the last game. Definitely not worth $70, and definitely not something that like I would play again. So for me, I kind of wish they either flesh out the open combat missions a little bit more, or they just take them out altogether, or give you an option if you even want to do those, because it just felt like it was unnecessary. I really hope that they can make missions, more fun in the future, go back to what they were doing in previous years, because the Modern Warfare 2 and the Modern Warfare 2019 game definitely had better campaigns. But yeah, that's my general review of the MW3 campaign. No spoilers. I'm probably going to make a video talking about the campaign more specifically with spoilers. And of course, the title and thumbnail and everything will say that there's going to be spoilers. So for people who don't want to watch that, they definitely will be able to know not to watch. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. But that's my rating. Maybe 3, 4 out of 10. We'll go 3.5 out of 10. I saw people on Twitter going 7, 8 out of 10. I'm glad there's people that are enjoying it that much. But for me, it just really wasn't all that. If you want more MW3 content, leaks, news, updates, all that sorts of thing as Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer and zombies come out, make sure to sub to the channel. You are in the best place for it. And with that being said, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video.